I will introduce now Professor Eram Raj Garu, a man from Andhra Pradesh only, combined Andhra Pradesh. Because Eram Raj Garu is a distinguished professor. He's a prolific writer because I have read a couple of his books also, both of them given by him, fortunate for me. And presently, he's regional director of PRMIA, Washington's Hyderabad chapter. He has earlier been director of Indian Institute of Economics and editor Asian Economic Review also. He's a reputed senior management executive. He was with the State Bank of India for nearly 3 decades. And he was also professor of economics at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Missouri, and Dean of Studies, Administrative Staff College of India. The year 2000 also saw him as head of the Institute of Public Enterprise, Hyderabad, on deputation from ASCI. He is special invitee member of the Expert Committee on Agriculture Indebtedness set up by the PMO. Sir has been a prolific writer with more than 500 articles to his credit and several books also to his credit. Notable among them being he addressed several international forums, notable among them being Global Development Network at Bonn, Asia Pacific SMA Development Forum at Kuala Lumpur, and Roundtable on Risk Management and Risk Management Conference at Geneva. Several. He was accredited as International Man of Year 1991 by the International Biographical Association also. I have been very fortunate enough to share platform with him, sir, on several TV debates also. I am very happy that Professor Eram Raj Garu also is today part of this discussion. Thank you so much, sir. I invite Professor Eram Raj Garu to share his views.
Good evening to all the galaxy that have gathered today, and Dr. Chandrababu Naidu Garu, a visionary, a known visionary, and a visionary who has implemented his vision, because many people may have a vision, but very few people have implemented it. And Dr. Chandrababu Naidu is one among those who implemented his vision. I'm very happy to associate today with this discussion. And Professor Charan Singh ji is known to me for perhaps quite a few years. I would say about right from 2005 onwards. And when I happened to be with the SME committee of the Reserve Bank of India, thereafter we have been meeting and interacting on different occasions, and perhaps exchanging notes through several articles. Then Mr. Kutumbrao has already mentioned about his association with me, and in fact I am enriched with his association. Yesterday, day before yesterday, when I was asked for time by Dr. K.V. Satyanarayana Garu whether he could talk to me, I was pleasantly surprised. Though I don't know him, but I happen to associate with so many civil servants who have very progressive thinking and approach to the issues, and many of them have gathered on this particular network, and I am beholden to all of them, and I am honored to make a presentation to such galaxy today. I am told that Mr. Anant introduced me. I am really thankful to him. Dr. Narayan Chaudhary first spoke to me and asked me, and I said, it is wonderful. I will be too happy to associate myself with this. At the outset, therefore, let me thank the organizers of this webinar for choosing a very timely topic, and where several financial dailies either rolled out or have set dates for discussion on the budget and its possible outcomes. So budget is a non-event in many countries. in the world. But it is a very important event in our country where several expectations are raised and several policies are also announced along with the budget. Closer to the forum, this budget is a transformational budget. This is where there is a retreat on some earlier policies, while some others provided a treat. That I will discuss as we go along. I will deal with them one after the other as we go along. Second, we are also meeting on a day following the announcement of the monetary policy by the RBI, to which a reference has been made by Professor Charan Singh, to support the budget announcements, providing impetus for growth and also for balancing the inflationary pressures at the same time. The nation is rightfully on a hunger, as we seem to be nearing zero rates on COVID-19 spread and deaths. We have also supported 15 small countries already in the neighborhood with vaccines to treat COVID. We have crossed 50 lakh injections of vaccine, first dose, while several are ready for the second dose. The news we hear on media on COVID recoveries is a treat to the ears. The nation geared up to the task like never before to tackle this global pandemic. In fact, our country is known to tackle all disasters with immaculate speed and efficiency. Look at any disaster that we have passed through in this country. The nation unites in fighting such disasters. What it does not address, of course, and I looked at the budget as a totality, is the project implementation delays that majorly occurred due to delays and disputes over land acquisition, delays in budget releases, interstate problems in allocative responsibilities. The other distinguishing feature is all the constitutional arms talk more as a central government of when they speak of as on Government of India Forum, whereas Indian Constitution states only Union of India. Nowhere it has stated central government. The word central brings centrality and leaves federality. This is where I think some change is required to take everybody on board with this wonderful visionary budget that Honorable Finance Minister has unfolded on the 1st February. This context brings us to the topic. The Union budget announced by the Finance Minister stands on 6 pillars, which have been referred to by Dr. Charan Singh ji also. And we can say very confidently, next slide please. Next slide. Going to the next slide. See, post-COVID economic recovery has been uneven, though it's on a V-shaped curve. PMI and GST collections suggest economic recovery, while other indicators have been plateauing. Mint's state recovery tracker shows smaller states recovered faster than larger states, measured in terms of public movement, power consumption, and vehicle sales. Top 6 state economies are laggards: Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, West Bengal, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. Therefore, there is a lot of effort that is needed in the large states, and they are more populous states too. Workplace mobility is gradually becoming uniform across states, and we have been accustomed today to work from home. And for many senior citizens like me, who are octogenarians, we are working from home and we have not lost our productivity. In a similar fashion, quite many of the youngsters also have been working from home while they would very much like to go back to their workspaces. Today, I think they are anxiously waiting for moving to their workspaces in the places where they have been accustomed to work. And with this introduction, let me go to the retreat and the treat. Why I said that? You know, we have been retreating from the fiscal deficit norm that we had set earlier. And we have also allowed, the government of India has also allowed the states to cross their 4% fiscal deficit to 5% with certain conditions. The asset reconstruction company for NPA resolution, I will say that because I will go by the moral hazard that it may create in the present immature banking institutions. Why I call it immature? Because most of the credit decisions they have taken during the past 2 decades have been based more on the credit rating given by different agencies, and their internal efficiencies have been compromised. The technologically, yes, we have improved quite a bit because every customer feels very comfortable to operate from the networks at home. But when it comes to a dispute resolution, it's absolutely in shambles. And customer meets are never conducted as ordained by Reserve Bank of India. Once in a fortnight, every branch is supposed to meet. But during the past 5 years, I have not seen a single customer meet. And there is trust deficit in the financial sector that needs to be really, given a backseat, and the trust should be regained. And we have been drifting from the federal setup in the sense that we have seen the 3 formulas, how they have exploded for a simple reason, non-consultation with the states. Had the states been consulted on the 3 formulas, even if there have been some differences of opinion, they would have been annulled, they would have been resolved, and a saner sanity would have prevailed over different set of formulas. After all, states like UP, Punjab, Haryana are in the lead in the agitation, but they have spread now to the other states. And these are some of the factors that make me say that there is a retreat. And the retreat that we have, fantastic, I would say. There are right notes on digitization because the entire country is linked with mobiles today. I think even the other day I have come across even the lowest level of workers interacting on the mobile and also operating on the mobile for their payments. This is something that we should really take credit for. And then there is innovation, health, infrastructure. These are getting the big push. As we go along, we will see that. And setting up DFIs, both in public sector and private sector, to boost the infrastructure spending is really an excellent move. Because this we have been asking really for the last 15 years, ever since the DFIs have been wound up. Because banks are not really cultured into financing infrastructure, as has been told by Professor Charan Singh, who has been with the Reserve Bank of India and with the interact with the various interactive processes with the regulators. As I am professor, he has definitely hit the nail on the head when he said that. And the other thing is the lessons from the failure of IDBI, IFCI, LNFS, etc., would stand in good stead while formulating the DFI's policy. Because DFIs are not merely going to come up with government funding of just 27,000 crores, but they are going to fund the future of infrastructure. The $2.5 million dollars worth of infrastructure is going to come, and this is one thing that pushes the demand, because we are in badly need of pushing the demand, and therefore breaching the fiscal deficit discipline is a welcome sign, as many of us have observed. Next slide. Yeah, I don't go into figures as much as to recall that we are allowing the government is allowing a normal ceiling of net borrowing for the states at 4% of GSDP. As I mentioned earlier, it's going to move to 5%. And NSSF loan to FCI on food subsidy to be replaced by making budget provisions. This is a welcome move, because one day or the other, FCI needs badly a restructuring, and they have to think how much of stocks they should carefully, let out rather than holding the stocks and putting them to the rats or the bandicoots. And 1,18,450 crores as revenue deficit, and then the deficit grant of 17 states in 2021-22 is also a welcome sign. Next one, please. Health and well-being. Yes, I told Atmanirbhar Bharat, Swachh Bharat Yojana. The highest ever budget outlay for health and well-being is estimated to be at 2,23,846 crores for 21-22, which is a rise by 137% year-on-year basis. And the pneumococcal vaccine to be rolled across the country very fast, with the 2 vaccine firms showing very rapid growth, and setting up integrated public health labs, because what we lack is diagnostics within the reach of common man, and this is going to be filled. In all the aspirational districts, they are going to establish diagnostic clinics and strengthening the NCDC, expanding integrated health information portal. And these are some of the very welcoming features that we are going to see in the next 5 years. I'm sure this has been the wanting space in the budget for many, many years. And we have moved a little, not a little step, but a big step. Then comes the next one. We will, next slide, please. Physical and financial capital and infrastructure. ITRA scheme to create world-class infrastructure for global champions in textile sector, leading to creation of 7 textile parks over 3 years. As you know, textiles absorbs a lot of labor, both skilled and unskilled, and this will definitely create a lot of jobs. And the PLI launched to create manufacturing global champions across 13 sectors, with amounts committed yearly 1.97 lakh crores in the next 5 years, starting with 21-22. And this is a major investment destination in the manufacturing sector. And manufacturing sector, we should move up to beyond 25% if we want to really compete with global giant in the neighborhood, namely China. And China has only 25% of the land space in agriculture, but its productivity is quite high. Whereas we have 50% of the land space in agriculture. And there is tremendous potential for us to move ahead. And hydrogen energy mission needs to be launched because the energy sector requires multi-dimensional effort. It's not just the energy from coal or energy from idle or energy from solar, but a multi-dimensional scope needs to be explored, because energy is going to be the brain behind the entire economy. And here we have present energy sector, if we look at, is on a weak foot. It has lots of contribution to the NPAs of the commercial banks, at least public sector banks, majorly. And they would like to come out of this mire. And here, a lot of effort needs to be done by the state governments as well as Government of India, because we have been giving free power for quite a few states in agriculture. And this free power is also without any conditions. With the result, there is wastage of power. PPP mode to be utilized for managing operational services of major ports. But this is a welcome move, because public-private partnership will enhance the efficiency of working of the ports, because we need to really reach the level of international competence in ports. Because I happen to be one of the members of the working group on major ports, where we have examined the skill sets that are there with the, and also the labor issues in the major ports, and how there we have really taken the steps to improve, and they are in a better foot now. And 100% electrification of broad gauge routes by 2023. Now here again, we need electrification, means again we need energy. Where from this comes? If it comes at a very high cost, people will not be able to really commute by the trains, then the cheapest mode of transport will be hard pressed. So here also, we need to really produce energy at an affordable rate. And the manufacturing sector requires energy again at an affordable rate. If we can give to the manufacturing sector at 4%, I mean at 4 rupees per unit, I am sure we will be competing with the major giants in the universe. Indigenously developed automatic train protection system is also going to be launched, and the National Rail Plan aims at developing adequate rail infrastructure by 2030 to cater to project traffic requirements up to 2050. The objective is to increase the modal share of rail in freight from current level of 27% to 45%. NIP project pipeline is expanded to 7,400 projects. These are all, going to really create jobs, and we are going to get into inclusive development for aspirational India. See here, the amalgamation of 44 labor laws into 4 labor codes is a very welcoming reform step, and extending coverage of, Swamitwa scheme to all the states' duties, and expansion of Operation Green Scheme to include 22 perishable products, and 1,000 more mandis to be integrated with ENAM, and multi-purpose seaweed park to be set up in Tamil Nadu, concessional credit boost to farmers through non-budget intervention. We say, whenever credit targets are announced, this is off the budget. This is one singular advantage that the finance minister has been taking, but this has to be achieved only by the commercial banks and cooperative banks together. And this is where there is a lot of effort that is needed because the credit that has been set to be dispersed is not reaching the farmers. There is a gap. This gap needs to be bridged very efficiently and very fast. Agricultural Infrastructure Fund and Emergency Working Capital for farmers is one excellent move, and NABARD is entrusted with this responsibility. I am sure it has all the abilities to perform as it has proved in the various infrastructure projects it has handled. In fact, Professor Charan Singh has made a study of the NABARD's schemes, and there also he has suggested various changes. Most of them have been adopted by NABARD. And the agri reforms that are to take place, for which the 3 labor laws are critical, I'm sure that will get resolved sooner than later, because this imbroglio cannot be tolerated by the country for a long time to come. We have in the financial sector reforms. I would not touch more because Professor Charan Singh ji has already mentioned most of it, excepting to say that rationalization of the single security markets code by 2022, I'm sure Kutumbarao Garu will be the best speaker on this issue, because he has been with the security markets. And then world-class fintech hub at Gujarat based GIFT IFC, and then permanent institutional framework for corporate bond market. Now, bond markets are very inefficient. In fact, there is a big blow to the bond markets if you see the way in which the Yes Bank scam has been resolved, and the way in which the second tier, third tier capital structure has been handled, and the Franklinton Templeton disaster that we have seen, Island FS disaster we have seen. The bond markets have really not been able to establish credibility insofar as investors are concerned, and this needs to be really rebuilt to create the trust that the future requires. The asset reconstruction companies, of which a reference has been made, and there are 2 opinions. Yes, naturally there are 2 opinions considering the performance of the banks so far. If we are going to transfer the bad bank to the bad bank, whether the bank itself, that bad bank will become itself bad. That is one thing that needs to be really thought of very actively. Not that the finance minister has not thought of, but then the way in which it gets structured, the way in which it gets handled in terms of manpower is what that matters. And we do not have today that highly skilled manpower to manage an asset reconstruction company. AMCs to resolve the stressed assets problem of the PSBs. Yes, the stressed assets are there, but then when we look at the stressed assets in the MSME sector, we have seen our experience so far as the industrial health clinic is concerned. Out of the 200 applicants who knocked our doors, we have noticed about 60% have become sick or incipient sick more on account of banks than on account of MSME. Going ahead with such stress asset resolution on a very comprehensive mode. And so far as MSME is concerned, industrial health clinics will do a good job, and they need to be established only at 10 places. Reinvigorating human capital through education and skills. Of course, this has been well spoken so far. Revamped most, post-metric scholar scheme. There are a number of initiatives that have been announced. I am sure once they are implemented with the spirit with which they are launched, we will be turning a new corner. That they are going to set up in the place of UGC, that is also a welcome thing. When national education policy is a progressive educational policy that has been unleashed last year, and this is going to really herald a new era in the educational system. And one nation, one ration card scheme implementation for the migrant laborers and workers. These are a portal to be launched for JIG, building and construction workers. This will build the data. Data is going to really secure the nation in a big way when we are moving on technology. And this data bank that we develop in different spheres and integration of these data banks into a system where the credit agency can take advantage of is extremely important. The artificial intelligence and machine learning tools that are getting into financial sector should really take care of this, because they have tremendous amount of data which they are not able to unleash and utilize. Next, please. Innovation and R&D has been given a lot of prominence. National Research Foundation with outlay of 50,000 crores over 5 years. National Language Transmission Mission, Translation Mission, and the Deep Ocean Mission for the ocean exploration and biodiversity conservation. These are things that are going to change the dimensions, but then the tolerance for R&D expenditure should be enhanced in the sense that incentives for R&D expenditure have really not been announced to the degree to which we have expected. The ambitions need to be matched by investments, and this is where some incentives are very much required for R&D investments. The minimum government and maximum government, these are stated objectives, but we need to really move into this phenomenon in a big way. And as I was mentioning, all constitutional institutions should stop using the word central and they should use the word, union and federal. If these two words ring in the minds of every bureaucrat and every politician, I'm sure things are going to change for the better. Because the mindset will change. Mindset change is extremely necessary at this point of time. Next. The stability of financial markets, I would skip this because it has been spoken to by Professor Charan Singh. Next one. We are going to land in debt. Union government to borrow 80,000 crores in the next 2 months. Divestment in PSUs and 2 PSPs. States borrowed, tending to overreach their fiscal deficits. States get 41% of tax revenues as their share, as per 15th Finance Commission. And with union government resorting to levy of agricultural cess, states will be losers in their share to that extent, as states cannot get a share in such levy. And any cess, for that matter, is anti-state. And this will give strength to the union resources. Banks' liabilities and the savings from the public could be on the decline with lower rates of interest. And they are unsustainable. And then per capita debt during the next 5 years will reach new heights. And the next generation will have to shoulder the burden of repayment, while the capacity of assets created may not generate enough to sustain. This is a big caution that I would hold out. We need to really balance the capacities of the future generations. That means sustainability are we going to address in all full measure. Next one, please. With this, I would conclude my address, and I would leave the questions for the audience. Thank you very much for the opportunity that has been provided to share these concerns. We are at the tipping point. It's a great challenge and opportunity. We should be part of solution and not problem, as Sadhguru said. And I would urge upon everybody to imbibe this so that there will be a cultural dimension to the change we are aspiring for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Eram Raj Garu, it was wonderful listening to you, going point by point. Especially, I like the title of the presentation, first, retreat and treat. Because literally, retreat is we are going back on our fiscal discipline, and similarly, compromisation in several sectors, while simultaneously we are facing hesitations over the 3 farm laws. I thank everybody who has participated in this webinar. Especially, I have to thank again and again Professor Charan Singh Garu and Professor Eram Raj Garu also for giving their valuable time, spending literally 2.5 hours with us, that too on a Saturday evening. We are very thankful to them, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks to Sri Nara Chandrababu Naidu Garu also for his valuable comments, and everybody who has participated in the program. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Charan Singh Garu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.